Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. How is everyone this evening? I thought I'd put a topic on the table that lots of people know about, except do we really talk about it and do we really look at whether or not, hey, Pep, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Pookie and Ray Ray, hey, thanks for joining. Khaled, thanks for joining. Hey, everything is cool, man. I thought I'd talk about something that is people know about, except do we really talk about it? I don't know if we really talk about these things. So I want to have this conversation in a way that I'm going to assert it's never happened. Khalid, what's going on, man?
That's good, Ted. Nothing much. How about you?
Good to see you, bro. How are things over there, man?
Everything's nice. I just came back from a hemorrhoid surgery, but man.
Ouch. Really?
Yep.
You're okay?
And I'm better than ever.
Better than that. It's always good to hear. Hey, we were actually just talking about you Sunday, man.
No way. Did I miss that?
This past Sunday, we were saying that you should have heard this guy, 16 years old, Saudi Arabia, talking like a man, not a 16-year-old boy. He was a man.
What the? Yo, where the hell was I really missed that. But
Yeah.
if you uploaded that on YouTube, I'd probably watch that because my God, I don't even know what the hell was I doing.
Well, the one you did is still up on YouTube. It's still there. But Sunday, Chris. Chris was talking about you on the show Sunday.
Chris is a good guy, man.
Yeah. He was telling another guy that you did a great job. Hey, I see, man. I have a cousin. Hey, cousin. Thanks for joining. I see you're in there.
Hey, that's cousin. Don't know who you are, but welcome.
I have a cousin in here. Yep. Thanks for joining. What's going on, West Coast? Thanks for joining. So we're gonna have a conversation that everyone's heard about it, and we talk about it in some way, somehow. Sometimes we even joke about it. But I want to strip down all the layers and see what's like really in there, man. So and it's good that you're here because you may have a perspective that we don't have in the US. So it'll be good to hear your perspective on this.
What's the topic?
Well, have women always envied men?
Ted, come on, man. Don't play with me. I call them envying. Women haven't always envied men. They just envied that they get to do all this cool stuff, which includes breaking our asses, to get the money to raise our families.
Right.
But that's mainly due to, brainwashing and cultural Marxism of the 21st century.
Okay.
The whole feminist lie. That's why ever since the 21st century, women have more or less started to envy men. Whereas if you look at the societies that haven't had that feminist influence, no, women actually depend on men because they want that protection, because it's in their nature. No matter how much even the women that hate men, what do they end up doing? They end up suing the man for, child support.
Right.
The home, everything, because they know that even though I hate them, I'm still going to depend on them for resources. So,
okay.
It's just that in societies where women don't envy men, they get more intimate with them. They love them more. There is a healthy sex relationship. there's a healthy relationship between the sexes. Whereas societies where feminism has had big influence, we already know that it's
okay. So let me. Here's a comment from a woman. I don't envy you guys. There is power with being a woman.
Nobody denied that. Of course, there's advantages for women.
Right. Well,
there's good characteristics of being feminine. Nobody denied that.
Absolutely. And as men, we want those feminine characteristics. We love those. Except a famous psychologist by the name of Sigmund Freud, he came up with this idea of penis envy. So Sigmund Freud, he thought that women envied men for having penises, and it created all kinds of other envy. So, and I'm going to read, so that these are not my words or my opinion. I'm going to read stuff about Freud and the things that he said, and he's written books about it. But I just wonder, penis envy, male envy. I mean, if we just look at the world, men have built civilizations, buildings, roads, trade and commerce. They take risks. I think men have, she said, I think men have vagina envy.
That's funny.
So to my knowledge, and I'm asking you, honey Bryn, have women ever built a civilization without men? Have women ever built a sustainable civilization that was powerful? They had trade. Women built it, maintained it, protected it. Because men risk their money, their lives. Lots of men die building civilizations. And that's not even counting the military and the amount of men that die. I just wonder if women envy that they haven't done that.
Dude, the funny thing is, I found out, apparently, you know how feminists always argue that because of male, oh my, you fight to get out of
a vagina, and you're always dying to get in.
Bro, man, you don't have to hurt us like that. Come on, you don't have to hurt us like that. Ow. But now back to what I was saying. Feminists always talk about, the patriarchy. They built these societies. These male leaders are the reason why we have wars. Apparently, female leaders actually have waged more wars than male.
That is correct. I posted an article about that, and
I mean, for crying out loud, English queens, European queens were just fucking Jesus Christ. They were on a whole other level. They made Napoleon look like a child. They made Napoleon look pacifist in comparison. They made Hitler, Stalin, and all these people look pacifist. It's bad.
No, someone did the research on that. I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna drop it in the link on YouTube. But when women are queens without a king on a throne, she wages war more often than men do.
Yes, they do. They have this tendency of being the absolute rulers. They can never be satisfied with one. They have to be the perfectionists, basically. That's why a lot more women have OCD than men. They have to be the absolute perfectionists. That's what I'm saying.
So just so no one thinks I'm just making this up, I'm going to post it. If someone wants to see the research that was done, how queens wage more wars. So here's what Sigmund Freud says about, yes, there are groups of women who have done this in Africa. Right. Hey, based info, thanks for joining. Muhammad 10, thanks. Okay. So here's what Freud and see, I would wonder if the penis envy is part of women waging so many more wars. So Penis envy is a stage theorized by Sigmund Freud regarding female psychosexual development in which girls experience anxiety upon realization that they do not have a penis. They realize it at a certain age. So Freud considered this realization a defining moment in a series of transitions toward a mature female sexuality and gender identity. In Freudian theory, the penis envy stage begins the transition from an attachment to the mother to competition with the mother for the attention, recognition, and affection of the father. The parallel reaction of a boy's realization that women do not have a penis is castrated. Okay. So let's see. Freud, he introduced his theory and concept of interest in and envy of the penis in 1908 with an article on sexual theories of children. Let's see. And he introduced it in another article, and then on narcissism in 1914, he described how some women develop a masculine ideal as a survival of boyish nature that they themselves once possessed. The term grew in its significance as Freud gradually refined his views of sexuality, coming to describe a mental process he believed occurred as one went from phallic stage to the latency stage. So, penis envy stems from Freud's concept of Oedipus complex, in which the phallic conflict arises for males as well as females. Hey, I have another cuz here. What's going on? Thanks for coming in. Let's see. So one of the things he said, Freud felt that penis envy leads to resentment towards the mother who failed to provide the daughter with a penis. So first little girls resent their mothers for not giving them a penis. Depreciation of the mother who appears to be castrated, and giving up on phallic activity, clitoral masturbation, and adopting passivity, vaginal intercourse, a symbolic equivalence between penis and child. This envy towards the penis leads to various physical consequences, according to Freud, so long as it does not form into reaction formation of masculinity complex. Well, so here's the deal. You might get a lot done, except I don't know if what you were naming, are you naming civilizations that were built by women? And I'm saying women only. So all the buildings, see, as much as we say women are more creative, the fact is the creativity of architect, engineering, roads, buildings, artwork, the greatest cooks, the greatest tailors, all of these are men. So those are civilizations that were built by women only, is what you're saying. You named Tibet, Costa Rica. I didn't think so. Right. So men have gotten a lot done. We risk our biochemistry. The biochemistry of a man causes them to take risks that women just don't take. They've done all kinds of social experiments, and they've seen that women under stress don't collaborate very well. Men do. So we can have high stress, high risk situations, and we collaborate much better than women. And it's because of our biochemistry that allows that. So I just wonder if women are envious of this. The envy towards penis leads to various physical consequences, according to Freud, so long as it does not form into a reaction formation of a masculinity complex. One such consequence is a sense of inferiority after becoming aware of the wound inflicted upon her narcissism. After initially attempting to explain this lack of penis as a punishment towards her, She later realizes the universality of her female situation, and as a result begins to share the contempt that men have towards women as a lesser and the important respect of a lack of penis, and so insist upon being like a man. A second consequence of penis envy involves the formation of character trait jealousy through displacement of the abandoned penis envy upon maturation. These are not my thoughts. Men have 10% bigger brains and more gray matter in their brain. Gray matter is where creativity comes from. Yep. So, and you look at creativity of fairy tales, love novels, all these things have been created by men. Movies. What is it you disagree with? That what Freud is saying? Freud concludes from this, considering the common female fantasy of a child being beaten to the confession of masturbation, with the child representing the clitoris. The third consequence of penis envy involves the discovery of the inferiority of this clitoris, suggested through the observation that masturbation is further removed from females than from males. This is, according to Freud, because clitoral masturbation is a masculine activity that is slowly repressed throughout puberty and shortly after discovering the penis envy in an attempt to make room for the female's femininity. The result of these anxieties culminates into a girl giving up on her desire for the penis and instead puts it in place to wish for a child. She wishes for a child. With that goal in mind, she takes her father as the love object and makes the mother into an object of her jealousy. So Freud is saying he considered that in a normal female development, penis envy transformed into the wish for a man or a baby. Carl Abram differentiated two types of adult women in whom penis envy remained intense as the wish-fulfilling and vindictive types. The former were dominated by fantasies of having or becoming a penis, as with the singing, dancing, performing women who felt that in their acts they magically incorporated the parental phallus. The latter sought revenge on the male through humiliation or deprivation, whether by removing the man from the penis or the penis from the man. You see, these are Freud's thoughts, not mine. So how does this play out in real life? So you didn't want a child, so why did you have children? I mean, that would be the question. I'm only reading what Freud said. These are not my thoughts. So here's what I'm getting at. So why have children? You have children. Why have them if you didn't want them? See, here's okay, but if you didn't want children, why didn't you protect your womb from getting pregnant? I mean, you understood what could happen if semen entered your uterus and came in contact with your eggs, which your fallopian tube releases. I don't get it. See, now this is what Freud is saying, that there's envy, that women at some point when little girls realize you did protect it and you still got pregnant. You got pregnant twice. but you got pregnant twice and didn't want to have any children. And I know you're a great mother, except you could have stopped that from getting pregnant in the first place. Second time you wanted a child, you changed your mind. Okay. But the first one you didn't want. You could have stopped that. You could have stopped from getting pregnant. A woman, the only person in the act of sex, heterosexual sex, in heterosexual sex, the woman is 100% responsible for her womb. 100%. I've seen her mother her children, and I've met her children. So I've seen the results of her mothering, parenting her children. So here's what I'm getting at. If men have built civilizations for eons, so if the whatever protection, like the pill was what, 99%, there are forms of contraception that are extremely reliable, and I guess there's that small percentage, and I assume you're saying, I assume you are that small percentage that slipped through the crack. What? Physical? I don't get that. So here's the question. If women are envious of the civilizations, the nations men have built for eons, how do people respond when they're envious of something someone does that they cannot do? And I've been speaking to guys, I've been speaking to a few guys about this. So I personally, I have a sister who competes with me, but she doesn't compete with me directly. She dates guys and then puts them, she puts them their car. She'll say their car is faster than my car, and the guy lost. Even if it's physical, right, or intellectually smart or financially. My sister doesn't compete with me directly. She uses a man to compete with me. So what I'm getting at is, if women are envying men, you can call it penis envy. You could call it biochemistry, the physical strength, and perhaps in women wanting equality, perhaps what were they hoping, that they could take over society and build and oversee a society built by men? Oh yeah. She came running into my house. Your cousin came running into my house screaming that her boyfriend had a car who could beat mine. I couldn't believe it. I was very surprised. So I raced the guy and I crushed him. He couldn't compete with the Grand National. I mean, I'm sure his car was fast for someone, but not for mine. But she was bragging about how fast his car was. And then with another guy, she put us like this, and the guy didn't realize it. She put us, the first time I met her ex-husband, we almost got into it. And later, years later, he apologized because he said he didn't realize what was happening. So, but yes, when it came to the car, she was direct. She screamed that guy's car could beat mine. I wouldn't make that up. I was surprised. And I just think in retrospect of many of the other things. And I think a lot of guys see this, but we just don't talk about it. Okay. I didn't have any feelings about him one way or the other. But what does that have to do with the topic here? Here we're talking about men have capabilities of building. Where would women be if it wasn't for men building skyscrapers and bridges and roads and cars and machines and assembly lines? So what way did you want a penis? In what way did you want one? So you could stand up and pee? Penetrate a woman? In which way did you want one? See, this may be the main catalyst between the battle of the sexes. It's what has women be so envious of men. Like, why in the world would women want to battle with their men? Where in nature does that happen naturally? I mean, men and women were built like compatibly. There's compatibility in the design of their biology. Okay, I get that. I get that. Except, do you honestly think that there are no women in the world that have penis envy? Are built to be a team? Yes, men and women, we're built to be a team, except women have declared in the 70s a battle of the sexes. See, men did not demand that women go into the workplace. Our society was functioning just fine by having many men go out and hunt. It was women who said they could do better than men. Well, yeah, we know there are women who want to be men, and they have their place in society. Men are not envious of men who want to be women. Not at all. They have their place in prison. They have their place in society. See, if men and women, as you said, if as you said, we're built to work as a team, why would women go into competition with men? Like, what's that? If that's not some kind of penis envy and resentment, why would women believe they can do whatever men can do except better? And when we look at the workforce, there's a ton of research that shows that women are not as productive as men. So that's the reason why prices have gone up. And when you look at companies with all women and put them side by side with a company with all men, the male company is more productive. Well, women were told they were second class by other women, not by men. Men didn't say that. See, here's some women do envy men, but only in a man's world. Hey, common man. So, I was reading here about penis envy and thanks for joining. And Charles Merchants, thanks for coming in. Thanks. So I was reading about Freud's his work on penis envy and kind of resentment. They say first girls resent their mothers for not giving them a penis, and then she competes with the father. At some point, she wants to have a baby or a man. And I'm asserting, because of this penis envy, and we look at this whole battle of the sexes, that women are it's not just penis. We look at the civilizations that men have built, the risks that we've taken, the money, and we get rewarded, and when you think about it, men have built all these civilizations for eons. And when you ask, And we do this to make life easier for women. We build elevators and cars and air conditioners and washers and dryers and vacuum cleaners. No, for sure, they've done the research. Even as a nation, we're less productive. As more women enter the workforce, the productivity of the workforce has dropped. And that's affecting us on a global scale, and no one's really looking at that. And when you look at women that have all females, it's often a disaster. There are plenty of case studies out there. Women don't work well together. So if you look at all the things that men have created for the convenience of everyone, with the convenience of women, I mean, men even invented the tampon. Go figure that, right? What do women do to make life easier for men? I mean, if they were not competing with us, they would be doing what men do for women. Men do things, we take risks, we go out of our way to make sure women are safe, they're well taken care of. But it's not what I think, the research shows it. The research shows that women are not as productive. In some jobs, women are better, and those are jobs, there are plenty of case studies where companies would prefer to hire women because they are more productive. But that's not for most jobs. And women won't even put in the hours that men put in. You just look at doctors and lawyers and the kind of hours men put in. Women are unwilling to put in those 14, 16-hour days that men do. And this is a huge problem in the medical profession. Even women who never married and have no children, who are doctors, they see this. This is what women tell me as well. So women are watching men build civilizations, and women haven't. I mean, just think about it. You watch men build these monstrosities, these civilizations and convenience that stand the test of time. I mean, it's like, you have a big brother and he always does great things and you never measure up. I mean, just think about Michael Jordan and his son. Michael Jordan's son never measured up to his father in basketball. Yeah, well, using yourself doesn't account for the majority of women. That using yourself or people is not doing the research. Here's a lot of law firms were intentionally hiring female attorneys out of the best schools, and these women scored high. These women made partner before the age of 30. And then right around the age of 30, they quit. And the law firms were trying to figure out, why are they losing so many women? The women said to remain partner, it wasn't worth it. So these women married usually around the age of 25, and they married a guy who made as much, if not more money than she made. And these women thought the extra $250,000, $350,000 wasn't worth them putting in those 80-hour weeks. So they quit because they could. They married. And this is a systemic problem in the legal profession. The women don't want to put in that hour, that time. Women who don't have a choice do it. But there are lots of women who make sure they have a choice and they opt out. Women who have children take off more time from work than men. They use up more sick leave, like 60% more. They use up their leave. I'm just giving you the numbers. These are not my opinions. Right, exactly. I'm just giving the facts. I don't have any dog in a fight, except as a nation, we need to start thinking about how that affects us in a global competitive marketplace. If we are less productive than other nations, we're going to end up falling behind. Well, men have put in those hours. That's just part. That's why a two-parent household. So the mother can be there to make sure she educates and takes care of the children. And she makes sure their education is taken care of. When you take women out, you put women in the workforce, then a lot of the care and accountability that normally is held that the woman has for the children is gone. And it creates problems. And perhaps women are having envy around that also. Hey, Lando, what's going on? So we're talking about whether or not women have always envied men. And I've got a Instagram chat going on at the same time. This is, see, Honey Bryn, this is why men didn't want women going into the workforce, because they wanted the woman there to take care of the family. It doesn't matter what you did personally. The statistics by the Department of Labor includes you, and most women are not doing what you're doing. Those are the facts. So if women actually have this envy, and Freud talks about this penis envy, and how women literally resent their mothers, they resent men. Like, how do you build a relationship with someone you resent? Yeah, women do have some penis envy. I always notice that they always try to hold back your potential. See, that's what I'm getting at, right? So if you look at for civilization, for thousands and thousands of years, all civilizations, all nations have been built by men. Men took the risks. They risked their life. They risked time with their family. They risked their money, their reputation. I mean, it's a huge social risk when you go out and build, like, look at the Wright brothers and creating airplanes. I mean, how many men died in different industries, building big bridges and skyscrapers, airplanes, all kinds of things. Men risk it all. Women don't do that. They don't even have the biochemistry to push them to that kind of risk. And to push yourself in a risk can create friction, tension with the people you're working with. Women's biochemistry do not support collaboration under pressure. Men do it. And I would just wonder, do women envy that men have this capacity? We have the physical, mental, and intellectual. We are the creators of fairy tales and love stories, the things that women love. And we are the inventors of tampons and skyscrapers and elevators and automobiles, all these conveniences that benefit women. And at some point, when do they start wondering why they haven't done it? They may see this whole idea of women being second-class citizens may have more to do with women being envious of not doing these things themselves. See, women always had the right to pack up their bags and go off and build their own civilization. Even when women say, I don't need a man, they never pack up and leave. They say, I don't need a man, as they're using a tampon that a man created, driving in a car built by men on roads built by men, working in skyscrapers built by men, and buildings and houses built by men. Yet they say they don't need a man. If women absolutely did not need men, they would have taken off. They would have been gone a long time ago. And all those women who claim they didn't need men and they can do better than men, all they had to do was pack up and leave and go find some raw virgin land, chop it down and build their own civilization, manufacturing, automobiles. They could have done it. There's nothing that stopped women from doing that. Nothing. I mean, there are so many women who don't even have any sexual affinity for men. And those women who, whether you call them gay or whatever you want to call them, those women could have packed up and left. They did not. They still drive and live in a civilization. They drive cars built by men. They take airplanes built by men. And why is that? Why could you have such resentment for the opposite sex as a woman and not walk away? Hey, country boy, what's going on? So a common man, exactly. So here are some statistics. I'm asking questions, but I have statistics to support it. So you talk about the military, right? 1996 to 2016, over 6,800 men died from enemy fire in the military. During the same time period, only 46 women. I mean, just imagine over 6,800 men, 46 women. Women are not in the military fighting. And is there envy around that? I mean, you look at the MMA, women want to also get in sports that men do. I mean, who's that transgender guy? Some guy that transitioned from a man to a woman and got into the MMA with a woman. He cracked her skull. Interesting, Lando. Interesting. So you said on your last job, you said my last job, I worked, they mostly put men in the stock room. So one day the girl said that they wanted to try working in the stock room for a day. And they came back and said they respect us more after that. They couldn't handle the pressure. Hey, what's going on, Mo? Thanks for joining. You know what we're talking about. Have women always envied men? So, but so we need to start really looking at this, right? So if a woman envies her man and knows she can't compete because she hasn't built a civilization, she hasn't built cars and roads and bridges, skyscrapers, whatever your civilization, I don't care if it's the 2020 or the year 2, we can go back 500 years. And we would have found the same thing. So what do people do when they really envy you? Like they can't beat you. Thinking that I'm the oldest of 4 children, and I have a sister who once told me that her boyfriend had a car that could beat my car. I raced him and I crushed him. The point is, my sister was looking for someone who could beat me at something. So how would that work in a world where women have that kind of envy? And I read here, I was talking about Sigmund Freud, who he talked about penis envy and how women end up resenting their mothers and resent their they resent their mothers. Sorry, I had a text. Their mothers, they end up resenting men. And as I said, if women really didn't need men, they could have packed up and left. Nothing kept them here. There have always been women who inherited money. And besides that, if they really didn't need us, they didn't need our money either. Our economy, they could have packed up raw land and took off. And they didn't. They're here. And there are a lot of women working against men. And how can I prove that? About 80% of divorces are initiated by women. Like, why? What is the game plan? So why would so many women, and most relationships are not, most divorces are not the result of abuse, physical or mental abuse. And hell, the Harvard Medical School found that 70% of domestic violence is initiated by women. No one wants to discuss that either. And about 40% of domestic violence calls, well, 40% of the time, it is a woman beating on her husband. Skip CO3, thanks for joining. What's up? So women are much more active in abuse and violence than we are giving them credit for. The question is, if women are driving so much divorce and taking half of a man's assets, like, what's the game plan? Are women planning to pack up, like take half of everything that men have and then pack up and build their own civilization? Like, what's the long-term plan here? Like, they don't need men? Like, where's this going? Or is this just like so much resentment that I have to find some way to get back at men? And even if women, they have this love-hate relationship, I mean, that means they're always in conflict with themselves. Right, Lando, right. I don't think they hate us either, and they need us because, like I said, if they didn't need us, they would have left and built their own civilization. Yeah, Skip 03, right. Like, what's the long-term intent here? What is that? What are they like? It's not helping society. Men are not out to compete with women. And if men turned over everything for women to run, there's so many jobs that women don't want. I mean, do we want the military to be 100% women? The garbage collector, the oil well drillers. I mean, those oil well drillers are dangerous. People die in those things all the time. Steel mills. Do we want that? Do women want that? But the question really is, has this been the case throughout history? Is this why women ended up being property in Greece? So I'm asking the question. If women ultimately throughout history have envied men and wanted to compete against them, and in the end, in the competition, attempting to hurt men, how do you stop that? So if we look at the facts, over 70%, somewhere around 75%, 80% of divorces are initiated by women. So this is hurting society. There's research that says there's $6 billion in lost productivity in the United States because of divorce. Because at some point in a large company, a percentage of your population is headed to divorce, in the middle of divorce, or just coming out of one. Divorce messes up your head. That's lost productivity. So are women really trying to hurt men because they feel like they can't compete? So they're undermining men to get back at men for some envy. So if that's happening, if it is, right? I mean, hell, we can look at the story of Adam and Eve and look at some parallels. But if women are actually intentionally attempting to hurt men because of envy, is this why the Greeks made women property? I mean, is that what we're going to find out here? Because then, I can take this even a step further. Well, a comment, I posted a link where it shows that when queens ruled with no king on the throne, queens were more likely to wage war than men were. Men were more likely to talk it through. And even if it was a rough, nasty negotiation, men worked it through. I posted a link that shows, someone did the research, and it shows that women who sat on the throne alone waged war more often. They had more to prove than what men had to prove. Hey, Skip, but there are some women who think they are just as manly and they present themselves. Sometimes you have to look twice. You don't know if it's a man or a woman. So are we going to find out that, so are women long-term hurting themselves? Are they putting themselves in a situation where the only way to stop it is to put not only brakes on women, to put constraints, controls, so that we can actually have our children be raised in healthy households where they have the care and love and affection of an adult while the other adult goes out and works? Is that what we need to go back to stabilize our society? And that's exactly, honey Bren, you're exactly. See, men did not beg women to go into the workforce. The only times women were absolutely needed in the workforce was during World War I and World War II, because many of the men were sent off to the war. No one expected women to do that. In fact, if you look at before the 1970s, it was a badge of honor for a man to not have his wife work. What's wrong with carrying more of the emotional labor in the marriage? What's wrong with that? You're built for that. Women are built for bonding. You have a neurochemical called oxytocin. Men have it also, except women secrete much more. Part of your job and responsibility is bonding. You may call that emotional. You think it'll take 100 years, Skip? I think it's going to take less time than that. Because this pandemic is putting a lot of women out of the workforce. Well, the reason you can't have one person working now is because women are less productive, so now companies have to subsidize less productive employees by raising prices. And by raising prices to pay for a less productive employee called a woman, now everyone has to work. That's exactly what happened. If you look at productivity rates in the workforce from 1947 until 1967, it was 108% of capacity. That means the majority of men were working, and the workflow productivity was 108% of capacity. From 1968 until 2015, it's only 69% of our capacity. So with a 69%, that means companies are losing money. They're paying for people who are less productive. So you raise prices, otherwise you're going to lose money. You have to pay for those unprofitable workers. Women are slitting their own wrist. So this may force our society. The pandemic is already pushing a lot of women out of the workforce. We've got and here's another thing. Right now, before the pandemic, 51% of the workforce is female. Okay? How does a society work like that? Imagine if 60% of the workforce is woman. Imagine if 90% of the workforce is female. What are you going to do with the men? Where do we put the men? Women do not want to marry unemployed men. Most women do not want to stay at home father. Women who make money want a guy who makes more than she does. Just look at those lawyers who quit because they married a guy who made more than them. How many women are marrying unemployed guys? What's the percentage? Give me a number. So we've got to talk facts here. And this is across race. This is across races. Right. And if it makes women the head of the household, and women do not have the same emotional stability as men, and I'm talking biochemically. Right. If the men leave and create a new, well, hell, men shouldn't leave because they created this one. I mean, if women don't like the way it's running, women could actually leave. Sensei Reek, thanks for joining. There's nothing stopping women. I mean, they can take their cars that they purchased and drive away. Right, exactly. So you're saying domineering career women don't mind marrying down. So is that what these women want? Is that their first choice? You know, I know two asses right now. Who are the two asses you know? Well, I need to know about a female society that has succeeded. It's still around. I want to see and if it's a ruin, I want it to see the remnants. Because I would wonder, if men didn't exist, would women still be living in caves? Would women have taken the risks? Would women have been able to collaborate under a pressure of building things that don't work? They fall down. I mean, there are countless bridges that men have built when they were first using bricks, trying to use bricks. They failed. Those bricks crumbled. It means that people lost money. There's lots of money lost. Trying to invent an airplane, men died doing that. The parachute. I mean, there are all kinds of things that men have done that put their lives on the line. Explosive. Imagine making explosives. Chemistry. Even, you know, the nerd in the chemistry room. Right, Charles Merchant. That's what I figured. Right, their first choice is an upward bound men. What? So I'm looking at Freud. Right, Freud talks about penis envy and how women resent men. They resent their mothers for not giving them a penis. This is Freud's analysis. So imagine if you're a community, you're a civilization, you're a nation, and your women resent you for being able to hunt big game, being able to build buildings. And here in the US, there were all kinds of brick buildings that existed. They were dismantled by the colonists. Africa had the same. We just don't see it in the history books. There are all kinds of brick buildings. And those would have all been built by men. Look at the pyramids around the world, all built by men. So imagine as women being bystanders. Right. Being a dude is cool. I would probably be mad too. So you're just watching your men build epic buildings and civilizations and roads and doing all kinds of creative things with farming and husbandry. And women are watching. And men have always had value for women. Women are an incubator. We plant life inside of women. We plant our seed. We want to make sure she's safe and taken care of so that our legacy can come out of her healthy. We want to make sure she has the right food, not dealing with the level of stress. We see that women don't deal with stress the same as men do. So we want to make sure she's safe and taken care of physically and mentally. Except maybe women felt like they wanted to have more of an input. They wanted to do more. And men just went out and built. So what do you do when you feel like you're not as worthy or you're not as valuable as your man because they're building these everlasting cities that stand thousands of years later? So do you try, like I said, my sister dated guys who she thought his car was faster than mine. do you look for someone or some way to undermine your man so you can say, oh, you're not so great? Sorry about that. My how does that work? So then I've got to ask, if you know your men are the greatest in the world and some other man comes on the shores of your nation, your civilization, out of your envy, do you help him capture, defeat, enslave your man because you're envious? It's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. I mean, we're watching that in other ways right now. Divorce is a way that you get at a man. Taking money from the government, welfare, going out of the house, working. So is that what men are really dealing with? Do men have to really take a step back and see that your women are completely working against you only out of envy? Even if they love you, like we all want our nose, but if you cut it off because you're angry with your face, well, I'm questioning if they're satisfied, or is it just they're so envious? Like, if this is not about being satisfied, is it more that women are envious? I mean, I've seen in several groups in Facebook where people will ask, if you woke up tomorrow as the opposite sex, what would you want to do? And you can only be the opposite sex for 24 hours. And you hear women, the first thing I'm going to do is go into the bathroom so I can pee standing up. I'm going to go have sex and penetrate women. I'm going to go I'm going to go be a bully. All these things that women would love to be able to do, except they don't have the anatomy, they don't have the biochemistry to do it. Yeah, a lot of women do run from a strong human male. But see, Lando, I wonder if I wonder, that's what I want to get underneath, right? So a lot of this stuff about never being satisfied, I'm wondering if it's more about envy. So if you're really envious of someone, you're competing, and you may be secretly competing. The other person may not even know you're competing with them. And so whatever they do, you're going to invalidate them. Or that's not enough, or you're not so good. Like when I lived in Mexico, I met this woman, and she was telling me that she broke up with her boyfriend. And I don't know, sometime later she sees him, and he's driving a car. He had a Porsche. And what did she say to him? She told me that what she said is she looked at his car and said, I'm not impressed with your car. I don't see a swimming pool in the back of it, so it can't be worth anything. It's just a Porsche and no swimming pool. I mean, she completely invalidated the guy. He had a brand new Porsche. Apparently it was something he didn't have when they were dating. So her envy was to knock him. Yeah, and right. So a lot of women will see the great in you. And just think about this, right? How many times if you say to a woman, hey, if I do this, this, and this, I can get up to this level. The first thing she says is, oh, and then you're going to leave me. They're afraid that they're not as valuable. Women have a lot more what you'll call insecurities than men do. And I posted an article. I would have to look for it. But I posted an article, and they had neural imaging where they could see the different parts of the brain that light up. And women's brains light up way more than men's. Women have a lot more activity for the same exact scenario. And it's often because they're worried about things that are not happening. Yeah, Lando, that's a good point, right? So they'll leave first, right? So that's still based out of fear. They have much more fear than we have. It has nothing to do with us. I mean, that's the biggest thing we can protect them from is their own overactive imagination, insecurities. So, see, here's what I'm wondering. If women believe their men are better than them and they're envious of it, would they collude? Would they cooperate with someone they think can beat their men just so they have the satisfaction of seeing their men finally lose? And that's just all in her head. All this activity that she thinks she's less valuable. So if I see my men here and I see myself here, if she could get some other guy to pull her man down so that she could say, aha. And if you look at many of these comments on Facebook, you see this from women. Like if someone always knows you are greater than them, they instead of them rising up, and women just don't have the biochemistry, they don't have the physiology, they don't have the mindset, and it's all because of it's biology. Men didn't make the biology, nature did this. I mean, are they angry because of the advantages nature gave to us? And someone put here, men have more gray matter, and gray matter is responsible for creativity. So look at all the creativity of architecture, engineer, bridges, dams, hell, even novels and movies, all this stuff created by men. We never really think about how envious a woman can be, and what will a woman do when her envious gets so big that she ends up undermining herself because she sees you here, she's envious, and she's just doing everything she can, even if she has to get some other man from out of your community that she's hoping can overpower you so that she can say, look, you're not so great after all. Like that woman said to the guy, I don't see a swimming pool in your Porsche. This is what men may be dealing with. And I think, Lando, you said men are going to have to solve this. But what I'm getting at is there's a reality that men are going to have to deal with. So there's it. So I hear a lot of people say, let this crash and burn. So what if we let the United States crash and burn? That does nothing for the mindset that women may have been living with for thousands of years. So we let this crash and burn. We get women from another country, bring them in. Eventually, the same situation is going to exist all over again. Hey, let's get the likes up on this video, guys. Let's get the likes up. Get the likes up. I've got a Cash App. I dropped the link in. I've got a PayPal. Your support is always appreciated. Loving the comments. It's making for great dialogue. But the question really that I'm getting at is, are men who are in a compromised position in that position because of their women? That's what I'm getting at. And if men don't face up to that reality and stop putting their women on a pedestal and saying you're a queen, while your queen is actually conspiring with someone that she hopes can defeat you so she can feel better about herself. Like you would say it childish. You're not winning. Look at you, we're up here now. Look at you. I'm above you now. I mean, how often are we seeing that? This is what I'm asking you to think about. So if women are intentionally sabotaging an entire community, they could sabotage an entire nation just out of envy. You don't stop that by just telling them to stop. I talk about demands and putting boundaries in place, putting your foot on their neck. You see, maybe other communities, other nations have figured that out, and they don't fool themselves about it. What if Middle Eastern men understand that, and they understand that if they don't put in certain boundaries for their women to operate in, that their women will undermine them for the same envy? This is not a race thing. What if Asian men understand the same and they accept this? Though we talk about female nature, instead of fighting against female nature and attempting to what they say empower and make her better, maybe there is a way to transform her and gut out all this envy stuff so that they could actually have value in who they are and what they bring to relationships. But it seems unlikely that most men are going to be able to do that in a relationship. Yeah, exactly. The continent of Africa too. Right. Right. So if your women are envious of you and some guy comes ashore and shows the women some shiny things and the women say, oh, finally, we met someone who's better than our men. Since the women believe that they can't be better than their men, you let that guy in. You let the colonizers in. You collude with them. And do you ever stop? Well, see, the problem is they don't have any power. That's the thing that people are going to have to wake up to. So let's look at a modern day situation. Ice-T goes in and speaks to President Trump. And what do the women do? They scream in envy. There are videos all over the place of women having video chat, whatever that they had a Facebook Live. Yeah, but they don't have any power. I mean, I understand in their mind they think it's power. Manipulation is not necessarily power. Manipulation is just manipulation. A lot of guys allow themselves to be manipulated. That doesn't make them powerful. Powerful people have power. And you can use power to build or destroy. But if we look at Ice-T. Ice Cube. Ice Cube just went and spoke to Trump. And how did women respond to that? How much envy was there for that? They start screaming, you didn't include women in that. And women are always wanting to go to the White House. They want laws passed allowing them to wear their hair the way they want. And do they go in there saying, hey, you need to look out for our men? They don't do that. But when a man does something, they have a problem with that. They invalidate. So maybe this is something men are going to have to face up to. And it may be something ugly. Interesting. And I'm going to assert our mothers work against us. And the fact that there are so many women who do their best to get the man out of the house, They drive him out. They sabotage. They choose a government check. They say, I don't need you. I can do it by myself. They want to celebrate Father's Day. Well, whatever men are doing, they want it. So if you get rid of all the women and bring in new women, what I'm asserting is that the same thing will happen all over again with different women. It's only men that can correct this situation. And so if we look at other cultures like the Middle East and Asia, well, what do they know? What reality did they face that maybe men here in the US are not facing? Because even Middle Easterners, and I live in a town and there are quite a few, I see their women driving what, their women drive cars, but their women know their place also. Yeah. And that's right. Women do despise men with power. They don't know how to wield that kind of power. They think it's all about fighting. That's why queens end up waging more war than men do. See, these are things that I'm suggesting guys look at, and we may have to face the historical. There may be some historical realities that most men don't want to look at, that maybe your women sold you out because they were envious and felt like they didn't measure up. So how do you level the playing field? You find some other man who can beat your man. Just like my sister found some guy and dated him and claimed that his car was faster than mine. At that time, I had the fastest production car in the world. It was the fastest 6-cylinder in the world. It was a Grand National. And she had met some guy who had a 300 ZX, and that there was not even a close competition. Yet in my sister's mind, she thought this guy had it and he was going to beat me. There was some satisfaction that she was looking to get from that. So I'm using that that's real world. That's not like some made up hypothetical. I mean, that actually happened. So is she using, are other women have the same exact mindset? And if men can be honest about that, then that creates a very different way to engage women. Don't have any fantasies about love is going to conquer all. I mean, Hollywood may have you believing that, and the men who wrote all the fairy tales, while the men wrote the fairy tales and the love stories, women sell it back to men. It's like men are they fall for these fairy tales also. So as men, you're gonna have to have some reality on women. I mean, if you understand, a woman can say, I love you, I'll spend the rest of my life with you. And then after 20 years or 1 year or whatever the time is, she wants out. She wants a divorce, irreconcilable differences. I just don't feel it anymore. This is a problem. Like, what is her long-term projection on life by taking your stuff? Or even just walking out of the divorce? Like, where is she going? Women don't handle being alone as well as men do. Yeah. Like we're not, no one's a good thing, Lando. Like, we're not taught to look at it this way. You know why? Because we have mothers. And we're taught that our mother always loves us no matter what. Like, there's nothing like a mother's love. And so if you get programmed into believing that your mother loves you, then you can potentially see all women as possible mothers. And so if your mother loves you no matter what, then you can look at other women being the other way. And then they tell us girls are made of sugar and spice and everything nice and how innocent all women are, like your mother. And it becomes easy for women to deceive you because they kind of sense that you. That's why women say, well, your mother's black or you have a mother. If you say that about women, you have to say that about all women. If you say that about women, you have to say that about your mother. And guys are afraid to say, well, hey, my mother is also part of this problem. And I'm asserting that your mother, listen, if your mother was 100% for you, your mother would say, hey, son, these are things women do to manipulate you. These are things that women do that are unproductive. This is how you stop it. This is the way you need to be with women. She wouldn't say, well, your father needs to tell you that. She would tell you the inside scoop on what women are really thinking. And all this, well, I can't speak for all women. She knows that women are emotional. They get out of control. They'll manipulate you. They'll cry and all that. Here's how you stop it. Women are not telling their sons this. They're sending their sons out with no tools to manage the situation. And a lot of guys are getting slaughtered. And then they go out of their way to try and please women. But our mothers are not giving us the kind of support to navigate relationships with women. So a lot of guys get slaughtered and they think they have to buy a woman's affection. Guys are getting killed out there. And if what they're getting killed by is the envy that women have secretly, and so that means your mother can even envy you. Your mother can even have penis envy against her sons. She can have envy because her son is one day going to grow up to be a man who can stand up and pee. He can do dangerous jobs, go in the military, all these things that women typically haven't done. And I don't want to hear about the 5 or 10 women that have done it. Like the 46 women who died from enemy fire in the military. And it was probably some bomb or something, or they were not on the battlefield, but they died from enemy fire. 46 women over a 20-year period, 1996 to 2016. At the same time, over 6,800 men died from enemy fire. I'm not saying it's great to die, but those men are out there risking it all. You hear about guys on the oil rigs. Kat was telling me that when one of those cables pop, they tell you to run. Just run and get away from the pipeline, from the pole, because the cable will wrap around it. And this guy told me he watched one guy who didn't get away from the pole fast enough, and the cable wrapped around him and literally cut his body. It was so strong it cut his body in half. We don't send women out to do those jobs. They'll work for an oil company. They're in the office looking at pressure gauges. So as much as women may not want to endanger themselves, they may also be envious of men who actually do it, of men who get on the battlefield and shoot that gun and have bullets coming at them. Yeah, damn right. Women are not taking the risks that we do. Literally, their biochemistry, their neurochemistry won't allow them to take the same kind of risks that men do. It's just that we have these different biochemicals that mix with testosterone. That's like putting nitrous in your car and it will, make it take off. A woman's body can't even handle that. They have problems if they have too much. One is called vasopressin. Vasopressin is like nitrous to anything. If it binds with dopamine, oxytocin, testosterone, anything. So I'm asking you guys to start thinking about the way you relate to women. So I'm not suggesting being envy. I'm not suggesting resent them. I'm suggesting that you get real about it and start putting in these boundaries. And if you don't make the demands so that you can guide and direct her in a more productive way, her resentment ends up running the show. There are too many guys who are following women. And then you're telling her to let you lead, but you're already following her. Damn, your mother challenged you to arm wrestling. That's funny. And you beat her. Imagine that. Hey, listen, guys, don't fool yourself. Entire nations can be wiped out if women are envious of you. They will go out of their way to find someone else who they think can beat you and then put you down for being beaten. So they help someone beat you, and then they will mock, ridicule, and invalidate you. I'm saying don't be fooled by that. What are your thoughts about what I'm saying? Do you guys think I'm just insane? That I need to check into a mental facility, an insane asylum, and I went too far off the edge with this one? What do you guys think? What are your thoughts, guys? Am I reaching for something? All right, thanks, Lando. Right, exactly. In 2020 alone, right? So, we can go back 500 years and we may find the same thing. And someone actually wrote a book saying that in Africa, the women helped the colonists. There was treason. I have a group in Facebook. Someone posted the title of the book. I don't remember it. So Lando, you see it? Does anyone else think, or am I? It's facts. You aren't the first to. Okay. Yeah, I heard. That's what I was saying, Common Man. That someone told me that there's a book written about this. So if men can face this reality, then so what's another way to deal with women going forward without being resentful, without hating them, without trying to get revenge, without pussy envy? I mean, we all have great appreciation for women and what they can bring to us if they're willing to do that without envy. Nature didn't make a mistake. So what's another way for us to deal with women and keep that envy in check? Exactly. Hey, Alex, thanks. So you see it too, even in Romania. That's what I was getting at, that this has nothing to do with race. Absolutely. So you see it. How do you guys deal with that in Romania? I mean, do you keep that in check? I mean, what do you guys do, Alex? Pocahontas. What do you mean? What do you mean, case in point, Pocahontas? And Lando, yeah, you really do. So Lando, I was saying on Sunday, and I know you guys were saying if you can vet, you can ask women questions and they'll lie to you. But you know what? This is your life. You have a right to ask women questions. So that's when a woman doesn't want to engage you in a conversation and answer your questions, you have to start wondering what she's hiding, right? And so a woman who has nothing to hide is more likely to have a conversation with you and answer your questions. So there's nothing wrong with disqualifying women. All right, here's a guy from Romania and saying that he's seeing the same thing. So what I'm getting at, guys, if you think you can just go to another country and get women, you're going to end up with the same situation all over again. Okay. Yeah, interesting, right? And I could tell you her father's name in a second, but the deal is, her father had a brother, and as soon as Pocahontas's father died, the brother took over as chief. He went to war immediately with the British. Immediate. He battled them. Now, one of the problems that happened is a lot of the tribe was wiped out. It's the Powhatan tribe. They actually still exist in Virginia. Damn it. What's his name? So apparently Pocahontas's father, his brother, Pocahontas's uncle, didn't see it as a good idea, but he stood by and allowed his brother to create a relationship that hurt the tribe in the long run. I think his brother would have went to battle with them immediately to shut them down. His name, Pocahontas's father's name is Wahun Seneca. Wahun Seneca. I forget his brother's name. So no question. So Lando, you vet them, right? She stops respecting you. You kick her to the curb. If all men did that, women would have nowhere to go. Like if all men just, you step out of line, that's it. I'm not kissing your ass. I'm not doing this just to have sex with you. There are boundaries in this, and you abide by them, or you're out. You could say the Greeks did that. They made women property and slaves. Women couldn't own anything, and that was across the board. Oh, interesting. So am I, common man. So am I. I'm Powhatan also. I spent a lot of time with the chief of when I growing up as a teenager into my 20s, I spent a lot of time with the chief of the Powhatan. Yeah, while women have a lot, Lando, what you're saying, women do have a lot, but eventually that runs out, man. The world is small. Eventually it runs out. Like you can only run the same game with the world for so long. Eventually everyone catches on. So the women who are smart, so they may have been raised by two parents, and they have a better sense of a male authority and honoring it, respecting it. And then you have other women who say, well, they were taught to have options. There are women who are taught to not run the streets. But as you were saying, and it's amazing to watch women in college who want to run around with their options, and they don't realize at some point that woman becomes an option. So just because a woman has many options doesn't mean that it's not time for men to take a stand. As long as men don't do that, women will keep thinking they have options. So you get it, right? So as long as the guys keep letting women do what they want, but here's the other thing: the women really don't want that. They don't. They don't want those gullible guys. They resent them. I mean, they may see those guys as less than them, and then they envy the guys who they see as greater than them. So, Alex, I'd like to know how you guys handle this in Romania. What are you guys doing there? How do you guys deal with it? PJ, that's a good one. So your mother did look out for you. Ignore them, and that bothers them. Yeah, that's a problem, Alex. Especially I think in the Western world, and Romania has gotten caught into the Western world also. So you guys dealing with the same thing? A lot of women taking jobs in the workplace, Alex, in Romania. Is that a problem? See, part of the way this is going to get resolved is that men are actually going to have to take a stand and be an example. So there are younger guys coming up. I don't care if they're 10 years old or 18 years old. There are younger guys coming up, and there are conversations to have with them. They need to be educated, and they need to see the example, which is you. So and you guys share my videos. I mean, I talk about, the most important conversation to have with a woman is your mother. You need to put your mother in check. That way you can put other women in check. If you have a problem putting your mother in check, it may be very difficult to put other women in check also. And if no man is doing that, then women are like the dog without a leash, and she just runs wild all over the place until she finds out that was a dead-end street. And as Lando has talked, then that's when she wants to come and see the guy who was a quality guy, but it's too late by then. But you guys are going to have to stop this. And men who have daughters who think, teaching your daughter to be a feminist, you're just making it worse for everyone. A lot of men have eaten the feminist pill and don't want to admit it. There are women who claim to be against feminism, and hell, they still support feminism and don't realize it. So you've got to check those women too. We don't have to beat them over the head, but you guys, here's what I'll bet a lot of money that all you guys have very high intelligence, and that is one thing that women appreciate in men. Even if they resent it, they will honor it because they believe they're going to learn from you. That means you guys can never stop developing yourself. And you can use your brain power to cause women to see things differently. Yeah, too many men without fathers. That's a problem. But you guys who have that intelligence, who have that brain power, and some of them you guys are going to have to do what PJ said. His mother told him to do is ignore them. I mean, I've watched that with exceptionally beautiful women when all the guys are like all over thirsting and I'm ignoring. And that woman is, she may be using me to make the other guys jealous, but she's coming over to me, offering me food, and the rest of the guys are watching, but I'm ignoring her. Yeah, some guys learn later in life, and it's a harsh lesson these guys learn. They get. You guys are going to have to use your brain power, and not just the women you want to sleep with, like even random women in your family. Hell, I had Instagram Live. I had a couple of my cousins listening. They might be listening to me now on YouTube. I mean, some of my female cousins are upset with me. I mean, that's the way it's got to be. I'm not against women, and they know that, and they know that I'll look out for them. They know that also, that there's certain things I just won't accept. Period. And they may not like that. But if you want that protection, then you're going to have to operate within certain guidelines. You can't just do whatever you want. Yeah, PJ is right. So not even in Romania, you guys have a solution. So we're all dealing with the same thing. We have women who envy us, penis envy, accomplishment envy. So there's penis envy because she can't stand up and pee. She can't penetrate someone else. She's got to put on a strap on. She's not building bridges and skyscrapers and out on the battlefield, working in dangerous industries, inventing. Women haven't invented one industry to my knowledge. And all of that could be just leading her to envy. So women have to get that they're valuable at what they do. And I think what derailed this whole male-female, the heterosexual relationships, are the women who just had no interest in men. The lesbian world. They're the ones who hurt this. And hopefully it doesn't take women 100 years to see that they were bamboozled. But it's going to take the brain power of guys like you to put these women in check. It doesn't mean yelling at them. It doesn't mean you don't have to beat their asses. Some of these women are violent, so sometimes they earn that. But it's your brain power that's going to have them see the world in another way. And I don't care what country you're in. Like this, correcting this is going to be on men. And men have the creativity and everything, the aggression, the assertiveness to make this happen. Hey, Rashid, thanks for joining. What's up, man? Thanks for coming in. So, guys, I wanted to do this because I wanted you to look at women from another perspective. Not that women are negative. I just wanted to have like this cold reality that women may be living with this, not just penis envy, this accomplishment envy, because for eons, men have built civilizations and women have stood by and watched. And just like if you have an older brother who's always winning the races in track or the star in sports, and you just have to watch them always get accolades, and you may be a little envious if you don't know how to perform as well as they do. And I think women have been like the kid sister watching their big brother men constantly do extraordinary things. Yeah, Rashid, I see. My concern is this is a global problem that women have been doing this for thousands of years. So we've got a guy from Romania who said they're dealing with the same thing. I don't think, I think this is a problem in the Middle East, Asia, South America, North America, Australia. I don't think we can get away from it because women just have this penis envy. I was reading Freud, and Freud talks about how little girls resent their mothers because they blame their mothers for not giving them a penis. So then they end up resenting men because men have one and they don't. Absolutely. Worse in the US. And there's some European countries that actually have higher divorce rates than the US. Well, actually, feminism started in France. I forget the guy's name. Some French dude coined the term. And feminism was always designed to get the man out of the house. And I just wonder if feminism has been working on dismantling the family, because my grandfather grew up in a house with his parents, with his grandparents, and his great grandparents. That, like, those 4 generations in one house. I mean, his sister's 7 years older, and she would tell me how their great grandfather would, sit her on her lap and teach her his language and teach her how to read clouds. There were just all kinds of things that you learn grown when you have that kind of family support system. Now that's been decimated. You barely have a father in the home. So it's easy to manipulate people and have them hysterical without having the stability of, generations in the house teaching. Well, Rashid, you're right. Women do have a different metric, and I think women resent that. If you just look at the military, what women do in the military to be successful is not the same thing as men. That women are held to a lower standard. But the problem is we have so many women in the workforce, and we've allowed them to function at a lower standard, which means corporations have less productive employees, which means they have to raise prices to employ those less productive people. And that means everyone suffers. And I think women have this whole conversation is wondering whether women have always been envious and resentful of men and our ability to produce, our ability to take risks, like the push-up, exactly. Pull-ups, even harder for women to do pull-ups. If a woman can do pull-ups, I've seen some really strong women struggle to do pull-ups. They had to cheat and swing their body and like kick themselves up. And they were really, muscular women. But the number of women who can physically do what men do is very small. So women may have been dealing with this envy for thousands of years, and men haven't really acknowledged it. Maybe some men have. Maybe the story of Adam and Eve is telling us that Eve was envious that Adam provided for her, and she decided to listen to the snake and provide for herself. And that's what we're looking at now, that the women are envious, and they wanted the opportunity to do what men can do. And when they found out that they couldn't do what men could do, they now deem masculinity as toxic because they failed at being masculine. They couldn't do it. They couldn't pull it off. Yeah, they are. And women bodybuilders at some point, they take steroids, and man, that it's rough. It hurts them. They look pretty bad down the line. So as men, if we're honest with ourselves and what women are going through, there's a way for us to engage them where we acknowledge that. We don't condemn them for their envy, but we acknowledge it, and we put some pretty firm parameters so that envy doesn't breed the way it's doing now. These guys have to put their foot down. They shame masculinity, but you have to look at who started shaming masculinity. It would have been lesbian women who couldn't pull it off. But the women who are heterosexual, they still crave masculinity. Absolutely. That's a problem. The soft guys don't see through them. Well, Rashid, that's a good one, right? Because right now in the U.S., we've got 51% of the workforce is women. And there are jobs that women literally can do better than men. And those women should be in those jobs, hands down. And you probably have a tiny percentage of women who are as productive and maybe more productive in some things than men, right? It could be legal, it could be engineering, it could be doctors. And let those women have those opportunities. The best person wins, but most women are not. Most women don't even want to work the insane hours that men do. Women like being with their kids. Yep. So Alex, this is the same challenge that we're dealing with in the US, right? They try to have such high standards. And see, this is what I'm getting at, that women see men here, they see themselves here. So if they could put demands on men, well, you need to be there for me to have interest in you. It's a way to put men down, to tell men that they're not worthy enough. And it's because the woman already sees herself here. So if you can make men feel not worthy, if you can make someone who you see higher than you feel less than you, then you feel like you're winning. And that's no different than the whole cut your nose off to spite your face. So, and Rashid, not only testosterone for persistence, also for this sort of the aggression, the risk taking. Men will put their money and assets and resources on the line, even their life. Many men have died to build industries. Women don't do that. I mean, and I said this earlier in this show, that if women really had a problem with men, they would have packed up, left, and built their own civilization. And they haven't done that. If women absolutely had a problem with men, they would have left a long time ago. What was so, let's see, you Common, they made, those three black women may have done it, but they only did it on a platform built by men. Men built a platform called NASA to send men to the moon. See, women haven't invented an industry themselves: the oil industry, the iron ore industry, the auto industry, the manufacturing of machines, airplanes, trains, all of this, steel making, copper, all of these industries are created by men. Computer industry, software, mathematics, agriculture, all of this created by men. But, sometimes, spoiled children ignore the historical truth of male ingenuity. And so I wonder if women are like children who become envious of their parents because the child can't do certain things. So the child throws temper tantrums and acts really obnoxious. Right, PJ, they break up first and they initiate most of the divorces. And what I'm asking men to be honest about is the fact that women may be envious. If you accept that, right, if you accept that, then you engage them differently. I mean, so the child wants to lead the parents. The parents don't allow that. The parents put structures and guidelines in place for the child. Now, there are some children who run away from home and they find themselves in a worse situation. Right. So, Rashid, exactly. So maybe the best thing is what we get here. Charles Merchant is saying the child wants to lead the parents, and good parents do not allow that to happen. Right. A lot of women want to play with toys. And look at when you think about when a married couple, the woman wants the man to pay all the bills so the woman can just use her money to shop and have fun. She doesn't want to be responsible. If men can accept that and say, hey, certain things are not going to be tolerated, and that's it. I'm sorry, women may say, well, you're treating us like children. Well, if you act like an adult, I won't have to treat you that way. And they may resent that, but they'll have to start raising the bar. And I think the problem is too many men lowered the bar for women, and a lot of guys took the bar away. So now women can be fat, they can be overweight. Look, if you want a woman as an incubator, and if you want children, you do not want a dirty incubator. You don't want an incubator that slept with a bunch of guys, right? And we've already had those conversations about a man's sperm, his DNA staying in a woman. But if she's overweight and unhealthy, you don't want to grow a child in that. And men need to put, hey, you're overweight, I don't even consider you. Yeah, when you have the toys, you have the power, but there are some women who will divorce you and try to take your toys. So I'm urging you guys to take a stand and really get clear that a lot of women are going to function like children who want to lead their parents, and you do not allow it. No how, no way. And it's only men who are going to straighten this out. If you want to get the train back on the tracks, you're gonna have to put the tracks there for her to ride on. And they've got to be very firm tracks. Men are gonna do that. So these are thoughts that I've been thinking about. I've been talking to guys. I've been wondering if, nations have been destroyed or put into slavery because the women were envious and wanted to see their men be less than them. And if you can accept that and just understand that this is what you're dealing with, and you've got to address women a certain way. You've got to address men who are afraid to stand up to women. You've got to educate them. And you guys, I'm willing to bet the farm, all of you guys here are highly intelligent and can handle that. Yeah, but I'm concerned, Rashid, that this problem, this phenomena of female envy is global. Yeah, that's the problem, Charles. Exactly. They know who they can manipulate. Yeah, they exist. So the biggest thing that I say is you becoming a quality man. That means your development. And the more development you are, the better you can, the faster you can see patterns. You can discover women who are not worth your time faster and get out of the situation. And the women who are quality, they will see you for sure. For sure they will. Even the non-quality women will see you and want you. The problem definitely is in the US. So, yeah. Well, you guys are going to have to become the stack so the needle wants to find you. That does work. Yeah. Look, women are still women. I've lived in other countries, and there's some universal things about women. So, hey, guys, share this video. Every man you know needs to see this, even if he has his head together. I really appreciate how you guys engaged me on this one. This is a really important topic. Like this video, share it. Any comments, I'd love to see it. And this is a global problem. This is not just the US. While it may be worse in the US, men are going to have to steer us out of this. There's no way around that. So guys, I want to thank you. Love your support. I always want to come up with topics that you can find interesting, sometimes thought-provoking. If you have ideas about topics you want me to do, make some suggestions. I've got a Straight Talk group on Facebook. Join me in that. And thanks a lot, guys. And for sure, it's your brain power and you taking a stand that's going to make this, transform this. So enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Take care. Bye.